All right. Welcome to our last installment of the series. We Own the Dome, 16U Men Greco. And surprise, surprise, who's at the top?
It's Illinois again. Like,
Why? Why? I mean, we've talked about Illinois ad nauseum over several of these, and you've kind of gone back to the point of Illinois being like they just train it. And you talked about the registration numbers of the little kids and so on and so forth. Is it just something special about Illinois and Greco and Greco? And Greco really.
I just think it comes down to a numbers game that they get a lot of guys and girls to wrestle in the freestyle in the summer season, and it helps them in the long term as they go to this type of an event.
So I direct messaged Tony Ramos on Twitter, and he got back to me, and I asked him the question, and he's like, "Look, I wasn't allowed to quit doing Greco until I was in high school." I mean, so
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
so I mean, I think that kind of just tells you train the position, you train the style, you learn it over a long period of time, and it's not until you get to a certain level like that they're like, no, you're gonna do this like every single weekend.
yeah, no, like that really is just the way it works. Like, and it's not surprising to hear that. Like, that kind of is what I thought.
Yeah. All right. So Illinois has 147 All-Americans, 10 champs. But as we look to, I'm sorry, 18 champs, my fault. As we look to the top 10, what kind of stands out to you as far as the top 10?
First off, Iowa being down in 8, I would have expected them to be a bit higher. Another example of the Pacific Northwest here in Washington being up at 6.
Mm-hmm.
But the very interesting 10th place tie between Colorado and Idaho is fascinating.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
I mean, there's no New Jersey on this list, no New York,
right?
No Michigan, no Oklahoma.
Well, and no Georgia, no Florida. I mean, they're down they're down like, below the top 10, but
states that are perennial like powers you would imagine would be here. But no, Colorado and Idaho find themselves in with the big boys.
They do. They do. Now, to be fair, Illinois has over 100 more All-Americans in 10 years than
just a few.
Colorado and Idaho.
just a few more.
So that's something that you should consider. In fact, Illinois owns the weights, the first 6 weights at 16U Greco. Okay, they have the most All-Americans at 88 pounds with 12, 94 pounds with 9. At 100 pounds, they have 12. At 106 pounds, they have 7. At 113, they have 9. At 120, they have 9. It's not until we get to 126 that California steps in and takes the mantle of we own this particular weight. So, man, the lightweights in Illinois are just lights out.
I mean, that's just, I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Like, that's one of those where it's like you said, they weren't allowed to quit Greco. So it's almost like you're forced to get better.
So we didn't do this at the top of this one, but I want to make sure that we let everyone know we pulled these numbers from the Fargo Almanac, Jason Bryant, and everything else. That's where we got all of this information over the last 10 Fargos, last 11 years. And, you know, the trends are just crazy. It is crazy to me. On the outside looking in, I know Illinois is a Greco state. I have this kind of thing, but to actually see the numbers kind of just blows you away a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little interesting.
So California owns 126, 145, and 220, or they're tied at 220 with Illinois. Minnesota owns 1.
Who would guess they're tied with Illinois? I'm stunned.
Minnesota owns 132. Man, there's a fantastic group of Minnesotans who have done well over the last 10 years at 16U in Greco. I think they had what, 4 champs, 2 others that took second. Minnesota is super tough there at that weight. Pennsylvania is at 182. Ohio owns 195. Again, we see who do we see as one of those 3 champs for Ohio? Braxton Amos. If you happen to miss,
which is still shenaniganry, and of course it's because of New Jersey, but it's shenaniganry at its finest there of him being an Ohio champion.
So you want to explain to everybody who doesn't watch the other one?
So if you watch the other one, you would know this, but Braxton Amos is from West Virginia, born in West Virginia, went to Parkersburg High School. West Virginia doesn't go to duels, so he wrestled with Team Ohio one year. But then he wanted to represent his home state, as one does, in Fargo. The problem is New Jersey, because of course it was Jersey, and I'm a Jerseyan, so I can say that, complained about him representing another state, so he wrestled for Ohio instead, which is bollocks, but I mean, okay.
All right. Yeah. But I mean, it happened.
I know, I get it. Like, I understand why that is. It's still stupid, but I get it.
All right, let's take a look at the trends over the years real quick. And 16U Men's Greco.
Yes.
All right. And can you see it?
Yep.
All right. So as we look down through this, right, the green at the top is obviously Illinois, Illinois, but that the green represents who owned the most All-Americans over in that particular year. So Illinois had the most All-Americans in 16U Greco in 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, but not in 2021 or in 2022. Does that mean they're not going to be as good this year? Is that what that means?
I don't think it necessarily means that now. God bless. There's like 16 weight classes in the years where they have 20 All-Americans. Jesus Christ. But beyond that, couple trends that I do notice that jump off the page immediately to me is the picture of consistency that Ohio is 4 years in a row with 6 All-Americans. California obviously jumping off the page, getting 14 this past year. A little bit further down the placard, a state like Florida and Georgia getting years with a handful plus All-Americans basically back to back. Georgia going 8-3-5, Florida going 3-4-8. Virginia grabbing 6 and 4 in the past 2 years. That's one to watch. Don't be surprised if they end with close to 30 after this season. Maybe another 4 or 5. Tennessee is the fascinating one.
It is.
It was 3 going into last season. They end with 7, ladies and gentlemen. So a very interesting note to keep track of is the trend of the state of Tennessee.
Yeah. So, I think it was it was one of the ones that we did previous to now, and I don't remember exactly which one it was, but you basically said buying and selling stock in different states. And we had talked about Tennessee. I think it might have been 16U Freestyle. I could be wrong, but man, you have to be buying Tennessee after the season last year.
I'm buying that stock in as high of a quantity as I can get.
Yeah. Well, and what's really interesting is, again, as you look at, I'm going to flip back over to it again real quick. California has 14. The next highest is 8. And Florida has 8. Pennsylvania has 8. Wisconsin has 8. Iowa has 8. Right? Then you have 7, and Tennessee has 7.
Yeah, no, they were with the big dogs.
So that is huge in terms of, and the other one that's pretty interesting is Idaho.
Yeah.
again, those 3 years, 19, 21, and 22, that's what's put them into the top 10 in 16U Greco.
Oh, agreed. No, I agree 1,000%.
All right. So I know this is not specific to 16U Greco men, but I do want to ask the question, and I don't want to ask it in every single one that we've done so far. And for everybody who hasn't really noticed, we talk a little bit about different things in each one. We're focused on junior freestyle men in that one, but we talk about a lot of different things. And the girls, we talked about a lot of different things, so on and so forth. And one of the things that I'm really interested in is which of the 6 tournaments, because we've got 16U girls, 16U women, junior women, 16U men, Greco, freestyle, junior men, junior freestyle, junior Greco, junior freestyle. Which of those 6 tournaments are you most interested to watch? Either the individuals, the team race, what?
I feel like each of them have their own distinct intrigue. I think I might have said it in the last one that obviously junior freestyle, I kind of made the joke and I'll say it here. It's the most interesting of the classifications for my Georgia fellows. But for me, it's the idea of 16U Greco, being a Greco guy. I love seeing the young bucks getting after it. And of course, junior girls also has a very specific intrigue. So, if you're making me pick one, I would say 16U Greco for me.
16U Greco. And the reason being is because
there's
so much that can happen, right?
Yeah, and there's so many unknowns that, this might be their first time really getting the opportunity to go bang it out with some of the best guys in the country. And, people can make a name, especially on the Greco scene, really easily because of America's, let's say, lack of Greco prowess. So the fact that, guys are 15, 16, they go have a great tournament, it puts them on the radar super early.
All right. I'm going to throw out one other thing. And it's Greco related, but it's not 16U Men Greco's related. And that is, I just saw South Carolina's roster. And if you remember back when we were talking about oh man, I don't remember, maybe it was junior Greco men. And we talked about Sage Mortimer and the tournament that Sage Mortimer had. Well, South Carolina's Zeo Estrada is registered for junior Greco men.
Intrigue indeed.
Do you think that there's an opportunity to see another type of situation like we saw with Sage?
I mean, of course, there's the opportunity. I mean, let's also be honest about this. It's going to come down a decent bit to her draw, where, so there's a lot, but she's good enough to. If the question
she is good enough to, yeah.
If it's a talent question, I completely believe in her, but it's going to depend on where she falls in the bracket and things of that nature for sure. But I think the opportunity is absolutely there.
All right. The last thing I wanted to say is, actually, before I get to the last thing, is there anything else with 16U Men Greco over the last 10 years? We don't want to beat a dead horse, and Illinois is just so much further ahead, at least in the first part of the last decade, than everyone else. Is there anything else you want to say about 16U Men Greco?
Do you have a team that you believe might be able to go make a run at them?
Well, I actually, Illinois is kind of dipped a little. I don't know if they'll come back up. I think California and Pennsylvania are both.
You better hope we don't see Tony Ramos there. You for saying that, that's going to get clipped. That's going to get clipped and sent probably by Cliff Fretwell directly into Tony Ramos's inbox, and you are getting smizacked.
Okay, but the numbers do support what I just said. The numbers do support it.
Hey, listen, Tony Ramos, that was not said by me. Keep that in mind. I did not say that. That was said by Jason. I don't know his middle name. Jason Michael Fulmore.
No, not Michael. It's not Michael.
No one knows it's not, though.
Oh, okay. All right. Um, so the last thing I want to talk about is the fact, and this again, this is not a 16U men specific thing, but everybody needs to understand seating is a unique experience as it relates to Fargo. And it's not seated the way all of you have been used to seating if you've never been to Fargo, right?
Yeah.
They could care less if you won a folk style state championship. Okay. That doesn't mean anything and get you no points whatsoever. All right. It is all in terms of separation, and they call it separation at Fargo and in lots of big tournaments. And they try to separate world team members from from each other. They try to separate previous Fargo champions from one another, those sorts of things. So it is possible for you to walk in as a two-time high school state champion in X state and draw Bo Bassett. I mean,
Yeah, it's very possible.
it's just the way it works.
Basically, what he's saying is when you step on the mat, you better be ready to answer the bell.
Yeah, because
From
you
the
don't know
word
who
go.
you'll get, right?
Yeah, from the word go, you better be ready.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time and doing the entire series with me. And yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just psyched that I get the opportunity to be there too. I mean, I'm pumped for that. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is what we do, and this is the pilgrimage. This is the trip that you must take as a wrestler to go see this event. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, man. All right. I will see you in Fargo in several days.